Welcome back, everyone, to the Kilo Talk podcast. I'm your host, Wes McKnight. You can find me at Wes McKnight on Instagram. No Nick today. As you guys probably saw on his Instagram, he's too busy solving a Rubik's Cubes while he squats. So we'll make sure to get that video posted on the Instagram. But we have a very special episode. So I am joined by Altman Biggs and Seth Todd again. I guess Seth is our first repeated guest. And we're going to dive into a cool topic that we kind of want to tell everyone about. And that is we are going to start the Kilo Talk Network. So basically, the Kilo Talk Network is hopefully going to be a group of fitness podcasts that can kind of come together to work on different projects together, advertise, and hopefully get some sponsorships. So just kind of bringing a little bit of a community feel instead of an individual podcast. So what is cool is these guys are going to be starting their own podcast, the Barbell Benders Podcast, and that should be starting here in the next couple of weeks. And they will be joining the Kilo Talk Network. So some exciting news. And I just really want these guys to jump in and kind of talk about where they think their podcast is going to go, what exciting things they have for everyone, and make sure everyone can go over and find their podcast on social media and eventually start listening to it when the time comes. So real quick, if you guys want to spend some time just talking about your podcast you guys are starting.
All right, Seth, after you, man.
So appreciate you having us back on, Wes. So our podcast, Triple B podcast, Barbell Benders Podcast. We're going to shoot for a weekly podcast. It's going to be based around powerlifting for college and high school athletes, and then just general strength training and how to apply strength training to your sport, no matter what it is. So we'll focus on that. We'll start off and we'll just get like a little intro with me and Altman. And we'll go in, and after we get a couple of ground episodes, we'll start having some guests on, some powerlifters, strength coaches, people that the listeners want to hear from, and that'll have information that we can put out there and just make an entertaining podcast for people to listen to. Altman, you got anything to add?
Yeah, well, Seth pretty much covered it. We're just going to give high schoolers and college age guys our experience, basically what we've experienced and how we can help them make the best of their high school and college experiences with lifting, sports, anything like that, anything that can make you a bigger, stronger athlete. That's what we're going to focus on. And like you said, powerlifting, we're both powerlifters. We've been powerlifting Seth's been doing it since high school. I've started recently in college, fell in love with it, and just fell in love with helping others and just coaching others to make them better than we are. So like Seth said, we're just here to make others better.
Yeah, and real quick, go ahead and give everyone your guys' background. I know, and Seth, you as well, just in case someone hadn't listened to the original podcast with us, just kind of let everyone know where you guys train at, what are your kind of experience and different things, so everyone can kind of learn a little bit about you guys.
So we're officers for Mississippi State University's powerlifting club. I'm the president, and Altman is our team captain. He does all the programming for the team. I did 1 year of powerlifting in high school, my junior year in the 275 class. Got into college and joined the club. Started lifting in USAPL. And then I did 2 meets last school year, one in the fall, one in the spring. Sadly, Nats was canceled or postponed, I guess you would say. So I didn't get to go to that. But going into my sophomore year of industrial engineering, and still train as much as always. What you got, Altman?
Unlike Seth, I did not start in high school. The reason I joined the Mississippi State powerlifting team was because I wanted a T-shirt. That's the main reason I joined. I just wanted to be the cool guy walking around with the Mississippi State powerlifting shirt. But then it just kind of became something else. I really fell in love with it, really learned to like coaching. I've kind of liked fitness since high school. I'd say I looked it in high school, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to figure things out. And when I got to Mississippi State, they really helped me figure out, hey, this is what I want to do. I really love strength training, really love coaching. I've done a little bit of coaching with the Mississippi State football team. I did that for about a year. Really enjoyed that, learned a lot. So got some great mentors from that. And now I'm just learning and just keeping on learning. That's the best way to describe what's going on now and getting stronger.
Yeah, that's awesome, guys. And I do like that you guys are going to spend a lot of time on your podcast talking about more of training, like the actual training principles itself. And the reason why, just so everyone knows, we kind of want to come into a network with these guys is just it kind of complements our podcast well. It's not really something that we spend a whole lot of time with. We like to kind of interview different guests and talk about meets and stuff. So I think it'd be cool for us to be able to work with these guys. To be able to kind of give everyone an opportunity to listen to multiple different types of like powerlifting podcasts, I guess. But so do you guys have a date on your first release episode yet? We're going to have this one posted on your guys' podcast, but what do you guys think for your first one by yourselves?
Well, we've been talking about it. We get back to school on about around the 15th. That's when we're both going to be back in town. And school for us starts on the 17th. So we're thinking about doing it sometime in those 2 days before school starts and then having it out sometime that next week.
And, of course, it'll be out on Spotify and Apple Music.
Mm-hmm.
Working on getting on YouTube coming soon.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm real excited to hear your guys' podcast and kind of get the information stuff. So you guys do plan to have guests?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So anyone that is listening, if they want to jump on the Triple B podcast, make sure to reach out to these guys, especially if you have any experience with coaching or whatnot. It would be a great conversation. And I'm sure I really, really look forward to it for sure.
Yeah, we're
absolutely.
excited
It's gonna
for
be
it.
good.
Yeah. So I guess real quick, and we were trying without Nick being here, we end up sending out a Instagram question a couple days ago to everyone, and really just we had the conversation with Nick last week about him kind of being underrated. A lot of the guys at Lexington Extreme being considered underrated powerlifters, and we kind of wanted to dive a little more into like what that meant, and is there more guys that are kind of underrated or underrated or on the come up that we kind of wanted to mention on. So we wanted to get everyone's opinion, which we thought was really cool. So we went ahead and reached out to you guys on Instagram and asked you guys what lifters do you think are most underrated in the powerlifting scene right now? And we had some cool responses. So I figure with these guys on the podcast, we can go ahead and dive into some of those.
For sure.
Yeah, so the first one, Dylan Berryman, he's a past guest of ours when Seth was on here, and he said Jamar Royster. Are you guys familiar with Jamar?
No, not currently.
I'm not. No.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I was so I looked up his Instagram, and I can't find him on Open Powerlifting. Oh, but I know he has pictures of him doing a USAPL meet. But I will have to say he does seem like a very strong guy. I'm trying to figure out his weight class.
He looks like at least a 105.
Yes, I agree. And I don't know why I can't find him on Open Powerlifting. So that's not great.
Open Powerlifting is kind of finicky sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put in just the right filters.
Yeah. Hey, if you can always be a top one if you filter Open Powerlifting all the way down, right? I get a kick out of the guys in my hometown doing me. They all of a sudden are top 25 in the U.S. for year 2020 in February for their weight and age. But yeah, so real quick, but look at his Instagram. You're right. I think he's probably around the weight you said, and there's some videos of him here hitting 622 pounds for 3, 363-pound bench press for 3, and I'm trying to find a deadlift real quick. And this is
all raw, right?
Yeah, this is all raw. So he's a strong boy, that's for sure. 500-pound triple right here. So yeah, Dylan, I agree with you. I think this guy has a lot of potential. And could definitely put up some big numbers in the future. So it's definitely someone we want to look out for. The next one, though, is interesting. This is more of a WVU powerlifting guy, and that is Richie Liberio. and if you look him up on Instagram, so he's never did a meet, and that's what I find very interesting. Actually, I'm going to pull up the group message for Debut Powerlifting because he's got plenty of videos in here of him sending us lifts, but he walks around about 165 pounds, and I'm trying to see. Oh yeah, so he deadlifts. His deadlift is on the 600s. My bad, I didn't even pull this up. Yeah, here's a video of him doing 605, 661, and 683 at 165 pounds. So he's got a strong deadlift. I mean, up above 300-pound bench, and I'm pretty sure his squat is well in the fives as well. So that's Ricky sent us that one, and all I gotta say is Richie needs to get on the platform. Go out and compete, man. You can. I think you can put up a big total. So I'd like to see what you can do for sure.
That's insane.
What weight class did you say he was in?
He's 165 pounds, and you can pull up his Instagram. And I think he's got some lifting on there. I don't know if he's private, but his name is Richie Liberio, Liberio. And make sure everyone to go check him out because he is a beast. It's 600. I'm a 700-pound deadlift. I wish I could send you guys the video, but yeah, he is insane. So I'd like to see what he could potentially do in the future when he steps on the platform. But I do think, I mean, he'll be. Let me pull up on Open Powerlifting. We were looking at 165s last week when Nick was on the show. But just pulling up the all-time list real quick, with 500-pound squat, approaching 7. I mean, I think he could easily be in the top 25 all time, maybe, potentially, which is insane.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because Bill Kazmaier, who is the first world's strongest man, he says that, in his words, he thinks that the strongest guys are the guys who are under 200 pounds that can lift 4 times their body weight. He says that's what a pretty strong person should be able to
absolutely.
do. Yeah, they are truly the strong people.
Yeah,
that's what.
In my opinion, the 83 and the 93 class are by far the strongest out of anybody. I mean, they're pulling stuff way above 105s and 120s raw.
Mm-hmm.
That's always ridiculously strong 93s.
That's always an interesting topic because I mean, everyone likes the big total. I mean, I know I personally do. So you like to see the guys that compete and like over at big dogs or whatnot, the big super heavyweights putting up crazy, insane, like 1,000+ pound squats. But you are right. But if you look at pound for pound strongest guys, I just wonder like where they would lie and what everyone would think would be the most superior weight class. Because you look at someone like John Hack, which I think is probably the strongest. I mean, what are you going to say? So do you right now, if you look at like John Hack compared to Daniel Bell, I mean, who's the strongest lifter in the U.S.? Like if you were just like think between the two of them. And it's tough to really, because what Dan Bell does is super impressive as a super heavyweight. But then you go and look at someone like John Hack that's just putting up freaky numbers at 181. It's interesting for sure.
And that's like really even amazing. When last year when I started looking at the college gate qualifying totals, I got to looking at them because I had to decide what class I wanted to compete in and if I do equipped or not. But I was looking and like I think the 93 raw qualifying total is higher than the 120 equipped qualifying total, I believe, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
and that's just crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if I'm not mistaken, I'm not a huge USAPL lifter. It's where we need Nick on the show. I think all the equipped totals are lower, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it's solely just because you don't have as many participants to drive that number up, because it's really just like looking at the average.
So as of 2020, and then the 93 raw total and the 120 equipped total are the same at 607.5 kilos.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, if you get the totals up right now, I think ones and well, it's not 181s. I don't know my USAPL. 83. I'm pretty sure those middle weight classes have the higher
Oh, they
qualifying
absolutely
totals.
do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 83 is 592 and a
Mhm.
half, which is higher than 105, 120, and 120 plus raw. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm pretty sure the 183 is 1305.
Something around there. As it should be though. I mean, I wouldn't expect them to do it, based off like a weight to average total over history ratio because, they, there be 83 and 93 got to look at over history what lifters have done and base it off that to keep competitions competitive.
Yeah, I think it would be like set it and kind of leave it. I mean, you already see USAPL nationals with crazy lifter counts. I think I guess they're just trying to keep it to where it's not open to too many people, I guess, and that goes to show that those middle weight classes are definitely the most competitive weight classes for
And if
sure.
you think
Absolutely.
about some of the best athletes in the world are kind of in that class too. Like sprinters, run middle area, that middle line. You just think like it's crazy how these small guys are so good because they were probably really good athletes in high school
Well,
too.
come on, Altman.
It's interesting how it carries over.
We all
Hey,
know
but we're
the
not the best
linemen.
though. Like dude, the linemen are strong, but you get a running back and a lineman, and a running back is running twice as fast as a lineman, and they can squat the same. It's not gonna be pretty for either of them, especially for
Kind
the
of biased
lineman.
toward
Quite
linemen.
interesting.
Oh no. Yeah, so let me ask you real quick. You always hear just from like the science side of it. I mean, I know I grew up with the guys training back in Parkersburg, like Bench Press University. The big common phrase there was weight moves weight. And it was always like if you can get bigger, you're gonna get stronger. But like looking at it from a true strength training principle, like how true really is that? I mean, obviously, yes, if you get bigger, you get stronger. But at the same time, like are you truly stronger or are you just able to put up more weight?
You're able to put up more weight because you're bigger, obviously, and
Yeah.
you have to lift. If you're going to lift twice your body weight, then you should be able to squat twice your body weight. If you weigh 300 pounds, I hope you can, and you're a powerlifter, you should be able to squat 300 pounds. But if you look in a college weight room, the strongest guys are usually the strongest guys pound for pound are usually the wide receivers and the running backs and the linebackers, and not the linemen. The linemen aren't the strongest dudes in there. It's the running backs and the
No.
linebackers. Those guys
Yeah.
are really pushing some weight, and that's where the really elite guys come from, like Mississippi State, Willie Gay Jr. He's just an animal. He's just and he's an athlete. You got Willie Gay, you got Kylan Hill, two major athletes that are just really fast twitch dominant guys. They can just get strong by looking at a barbell. It's really amazing how just what different people's bodies can do.
Yeah, and going off that, I think putting on size and weight, it can add strength. It definitely can. Because from my meet in November, I weighed 208, and then I competed in February at 231. I definitely put some pounds on my total, but I don't think getting bigger weight wise is a prerequisite for strength.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think people take that and think that if I gain weight, I'll automatically my total will go up, and that's not always true.
yeah, and we have a guy that was at Mississippi State. He Jalen, I can't remember his last name right now, but he weighed 130
Jalen
pounds.
Boyd.
Jalen Boyd, he could squat 100. He can squat like 100 or 455 pounds. It's pretty insane. He weighs like 130. So, and he's just a little guy. He looks like sticks and stones, but he's just strong, man. And I think it just
Yeah.
comes down to your genetics and what your predisposition to do. If you're a more fast twitch dominant guy, you're going to be able to lift more weight than someone who's more kind of built just to gain size.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. So I want to jump into this next guy, though, because this is interesting. It's from Joe Weisel. And Joe Weisel, for you guys that don't know, is an insane bencher out of Parkersburg, West Virginia. I mean, make sure to go check out his Instagram and some of the stuff he does. One night, I mean, he's up above 500 pounds at a 198-pound body weight. But his response to this question was Kent Burgess. And Kent Burgess, again, is another guy out of Parkersburg that a lot of people don't know about. Kent lifts in the Masters 60 plus division. He's 308 plus, but he just last year bench pressed 518 pounds, and he has the number one bench press of anyone 60 plus raw. And I mean, so yeah, I do agree he might be a little underrated, but he is an animal for a 60-year-old man, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's amazing how you can train for that long, especially, well, some of these guys start later in their life, but it's amazing how you can still kind of have that longevity aspect to it and still hit big numbers.
I have respect for anybody over the age of 40 that can continue lifting at a competitive level. Because I feel like that's like the cap for a lot of sports. Around there is kind of when your athletic ability will start to decline, and maybe someone would think about pulling out. But man, 60, it's impressive.
Yeah, and he's a real good guy. I've trained with him for years. He's a real old school lifter. Keeps it pretty simple, but and I think he used to do full power way back, but I can't pull up any of those numbers right now. But so we'll jump into the next one. Again, we have Zach Edwards. He responded with Hayden Bow. So Hayden, hybrid performance method, seems like a real good guy, real good coach. Really an interesting lifter because I don't know, Altman, you might be able to speak a little bit more about this. Some of the hybrid method stuff, you see them in there doing a lot of like Olympic lifts as well. So they're not super specific, it doesn't seem. So it seems very interesting. I haven't did a whole lot of research into their training style. But yeah, I mean, Hayden's a 198 pound lifter. Best total looks like to be 1736 at 198 in reps, and that's at Bosses of Bosses. So yeah, he's definitely a solid lifter. I don't know if I would really consider him underrated. I don't know what if he will ever crack kind of like the elite at 198. I think he's very popular, of course, because of his fiance slash girlfriend, Steffi Cohen. But I have a lot of respect for what he does and what he's been able to build down there at the hybrid performance method. So I think it's an interesting response. I wouldn't truly say he's underrated, but I definitely think he's a good guy and a very good lifter for sure.
Yeah, and going back to what you're saying about the Olympic lifts and everything, that there are some guys who say that when their box jump goes up, their deadlift goes up.
Mm-hmm.
They really get that stretch shortening cycle down, and they become faster at moving weight. Force equals mass times acceleration, and if you can move a weight faster, you can produce more force. So I think that's what it comes down to, and Olympic lifts can really help you with power and just really getting that strength off the floor and really helping them with that lockout. You see a lot of Olympic lifters; they're still really strong deadlifters, but they can snatch and clean and jerk up a whole lot. So I think it really does have a really good carryover. And Josh Bryant with Joe How Strong, he incorporates a lot of box jumps with his clients sometimes, and a lot of compensatory acceleration work, which is moving a weight as fast as possible, producing the most amount of force without the what's it called, the decrement of moving heavy weight all the time, because you moving heavy weight all the time can really hurt your body, and I think that's where that comes in. Fred Hatfield came up with that, just the compensatory acceleration, just moving lightweight faster.
Yeah, having like a speed day for something.
Yeah,
exactly, like Westside Barbell, and everything else in between there.
Yeah, so if you're training someone for powerlifting, would you, and I think this has been a problem of mine in the past, is I very much, when I start trying to train heavy, I don't want to be athletic at all, it seems. Would you implement some of these box jumps and more of like explosion type of work with someone that maybe more of off season, obviously, for powerlifters?
Yeah, but I think it would also depend on their strength level as well. Matt Winning talks about this. He says that anywhere from 2 to 2, if they can squat 2 to 2.5 times their body weight, you can do a lot more plyometrics with them. If they're under that, you have to be a little bit more careful with them, because again, doing a lot of plyometrics and box jumps and depth jumps can really have a greater toll on the body, because you're having to absorb a lot more force. And now you can teach them to absorb more force, but absolutely think it would help a lifter if they're in that range of 2 to 2.5 times their body weight. And I think I would incorporate it maybe as a warm up during the season. If you do a box jump or it's like maybe 8 box jumps before you squat, you're gonna notice a pretty big increase in your or how the weight feels on your back.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, so I like Hayden. I like the stuff he puts out, and I definitely think he's underrated, as in the coaching ability and stuff that they have down there, just stuff as a whole. What they have down in Miami. So I think he was a solid response for sure. So the next response I want to look into is from Christina. Christina's, I think, one of our new listeners. I recently saw her follow her Instagram. So hopefully she can continue to listen to our episodes and stuff. So she has Pitt Conley and Matt Stoddard. And so look at open powerlifting real quick. I could pull up Pitt, but I could not find Matt. And Pitt, I pulled him up on his Instagram. He has a 2,000 pound total at 308. So super, super strong dude. And his best lifts are squat 755, bench 507, and deadlift 738. But with that being said, I pulled up his Instagram real quick and saw a video from him 18 hours ago, squatting 700 for 5 end wraps. Pretty damn easy. So
that's insane.
I think I don't know how well his numbers really represent his potential, which of course would mean he's probably pretty underrated as a lifter, but he is a strong dude. So that's crazy total. I couldn't even imagine getting anywhere near 2,000 pound total. I really can't.
700 for 5. That's got to put him somewhere close to 8 for a single, on a good day.
Whew. Yeah. There's all kinds of potential there. And then Matt, I cannot find him on Instagram or open powerlifting. So he might be really underrated. You could have a world record total and we might not know it. So next response was by Eli Weekly, another guy out of Parkersburg, Jaden Lucaria. So Jaden was on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I do believe Jaden is extremely underrated. I just think he has not put up his best meet yet. I'm going to pull up his open powerlifting here in 1 second. But he is a strong dude with all kinds of potential. And I again, he's a lot like Nick. He's super young, and I don't even think he's even starting to get into what potentially could be his prime. So I think for sure he has some crazy potential. I'm trying to pull up his numbers.
How old is he?
20. I think he's 21.
That's what his Instagram says.
Yeah. I don't know why I can't find him. But I'm sure he'll have his total on Instagram. So if you give me 1 second. But yeah, Jaden was on our podcast. Jaden spent some time training at Westside and then switched over to Lexington now. He was going to do a meet this past week, it was when Nick was doing his meet, but it got canceled, so he didn't have the opportunity to do it. So his last meet was at 198 pounds, and he totaled 1807. So that's 727 pound squat, 402 bench, and a 677 deadlift. And I mean, he is just a beast.
You said he was at Westside, so does that mean he's equipped?
No, actually, that is wraps. Raw with wraps. So it used to be. So he was equipped. So that was a big thing. If you check out our episode with Jaden, it was pretty interesting to kind of hear his progression. He started out training raw. Actually, used to be a WU powerlifting member, would do all raw with wraps. Then had some issues kind of getting a complete meet together for a while. So he had these strong lifts and he just couldn't get it all to come together meet day. Went to Westside, put up an equipped total, and I'll try to find his equipped total right now. And then switched to Lexington because he wanted to train raw, and Westside really wasn't having him train raw. It wasn't, they didn't really want him to. So when he made the switch, he ended up having that big total. But his multiply meet, so I guess he did not complete. He said he bombed his multiply meet, but 730 squat, 500 bench, and 700 deadlift. is what he hit, but he
and
didn't. Go
based off
ahead.
his Instagram page, he's got some stuff a lot bigger than that. July 5th, he's got a 770 single. Just 5 days ago, he put up a super fast 365 triple on bench. I mean, he just that just flew for him. So I think, yeah, and over 400 easily for the next meet he does. Well over 400.
Yeah, so I do think he's underrated. And you see that a lot of these young guys. That's what it's kind of. I put out this question just to talk on it, and I think I think one of the biggest challenges in powerlifting is trying to say someone is truly underrated because you can really just like look at your numbers, and that's the only thing that kind of like bases off your performance. It's easier to say someone's like underrated in football where maybe they perform well, but their stats aren't super high or whatnot. So it is kind of interesting. But one thing I will say is what you see, who I consider to be underrated in powerlifting, and I guess this is probably how we should have started the show, is guys that are maybe competing a lot at a young age, and they continue to grow, and they could potentially have a big meet at any time. So I think that's kind of like my definition of underrated in the sport of powerlifting, and I think Jaden really fits that mold. He's had a lot of trouble getting it all together in the past. His last meet, he put up a great meet, and he has some other big lifts that he's hit in training that I think will potentially put him to one of the best in the world here in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. And going off that, I think as far as underrated powerlifters, unless you kind of find them on Instagram or like hear about them through word of mouth, it's kind of hard to find out about somebody on the come up in powerlifting. Just because, unless you put out a really good meet or you're putting up training videos on Instagram, it's kind of hard to find somebody.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And that kind of goes into a conversation we have a lot, and especially in our sport. It's like someone might be posting their videos on Instagram, but you would never know till they have a big meet. It's not till that first big meet that they get featured on King of Lifts or some popular Instagram page or some other big lifter post about them that you even know anything about them. So you can potentially have guys that are about to break world records just kind of be completely in the shadows till they do their first meet or their first meet after so many years off. That's what makes the sport very interesting in a way, but at the same time, I think that's part of the reason why we need some sort of progression system like you see in the USAPL, where there's like state level meets and regional level meets and stuff like that, is I think people will get recognized a little sooner.
Yeah,
For sure.
But okay, I think I'm just gonna run through the next ones. I'm sorry guys, I'd like to spend a little more time, but I think us bounce around open powerlifting isn't going to be the most entertaining thing for everyone. So the next one was from Dana, another past guest, Jake Amadello and Christina Laxo. Are you guys familiar with either one of those lifters?
No.
I've heard of Jake.
Okay, I have as well. And we can pull up his Instagram real quick, but I think I'm just going to go through everyone's responses. Russell Swoll, Caleb Waller. I don't think Russell's really underrated, but
no, he's rated pretty high.
Yeah, but he's a pretty outstanding lifter, and it still has a lot of potential. I mean, do you guys ever find it interesting? I spend a lot of time looking at non-tested powerlifting. I do appeal to it. I wish there was more of like a structured competition, like similar to USAPL. But I like to follow the big meets. Like we talked a little bit beforehand about some of the stuff going on with the Showdown meet right now with them like moving locations and different things like that. Wouldn't you find it very interesting if someone like Russ went to the untested side, like where he would rank up, like could potentially be putting world record totals on the untested side as well?
Oh my gosh. No one would have a chance.
Yeah,
I think Russ is just a freak.
Yeah, he really is just a freak of nature. He's just one of those guys. He's the one in a million.
And isn't he like pretty young, like low 20s?
Oh yeah, I think he's very young.
Let's see. He's 2017. He was 22, so he's about 25 right now. That's still really young. in powerlifting. He's still got a good many years to put a lot of weight on that total.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we talked earlier in the show about Kent Burgess and 60 years old, bench pressing 500 plus and still gaining. I mean, that's his best meet, and it was just last year. I mean, just think about what Russ could potentially do. And I think it'll be interesting. I could see him maybe jumping to the untested side. I mean, you look at guys like John Hack, and I think a lot of these lifters, once they kind of accomplish an IPF World Championship, they just want something else, and they want to go find a money meet and different things like that, and that's more of on the untested side, and just to see a new challenge. So I could definitely see him potentially moving to the untested world, which I think could be very interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be the new Dan Green.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right, guys. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap up the show here. Again, everyone, make sure to go check out the Kilo Talk Network here in the future. We plan on getting some great content, maybe jumping into just fitness as a whole. We don't want to just with the network itself. Our podcast here will be completely based around powerlifting, but to bring in some new lifters in a community of like-minded people, we think that this network could be great for the growth of all the podcasts involved. And then more importantly, make sure to go check out the Barbell Benders Podcast. I mean, this show will be released on their podcast as like a premiere, as an introduction to them, kind of what they will be doing moving forward. But I think they will bring a lot of great information to you all. So as soon as you listen to this, make sure to jump over to follow their Instagram. And then when they get on Spotify and iTunes, make sure to subscribe, follow, leave them help them grow. And I'm sure they're going to have some great content for all you guys. So, guys, real quick, closing thoughts. Let the listeners know anything else you want or anything else you'd like them to know about your podcast. And then also, when you're done with that, go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you personally on social media.
Yeah, so you can find our podcast Instagram at triple.b.podcast and my personal at seth.todd76.
And I'm big college strength, BIGGS, and then college, and then strength. Pretty long name, not as short as y'all's, but we'll keep it simple.
But yeah, we're super excited about getting this podcast underway and seeing what kind of information and lifters and techniques we can discuss.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for listening to this show. We'll be back next week, hopefully, with the founder of the West Virginia Powerlifting Club. So that should be a great episode. So make sure to come back next week. Make sure to like and follow, subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and we are on YouTube. So thank you everyone for listening. See ya.